Hello, what's up YouTube? Welcome to my channel MMA Normie, and tonight we're going to discuss about the big event that wrapped up yesterday, UFC 270, Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane, or should I say Francis Couture versus Cyril Gane. Francis Couture showed up for this fight. Um, let's first talk about the fifth round of that match, and I don't know. I think Cyril Gane really showed his inexperience in this fight. I was a little bit disappointed from his decision making on the ground. I mean, he had a legit opportunity to capture the belt. Even if you look at the scorecards of the judges, two judges gave it 48-47 for Francis. One guy was drunk. He gave it 49-46 Francis. I don't know how did he arrive there, but whatever. So if Cyril Gane, let's say, had maintained the top control in the last round like he should have, then it is highly likely that Cyril Gane would have taken two of the judges' cards in his favor, 48-47, and other guy would have still given it to Ngannou, of course, but he would have captured the gold nonetheless. He was right there. He almost had it, and he really showed his inexperience. He showed real bad decision making under pressure. He went for a very, very ill-advised leg lock attempt. I mean, he did not need to do that. Starting of the fifth round, he really, had a really nice single leg random pipe, took Francis down, and established top control. I mean, once you do that, it's heavyweight. I mean, Francis is huge, I get it, but so is Cyril Gane. He can hold Francis down for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. He can keep him down, and the referee was not really itchy about standing them up either. The ref knows it's a high consequence fight. He'd rather let the action unfold. Even if it was uneventful, he would have. And if Cyril Gane would have been just content to keep the top control and pepper Francis with some ground and pound here and there, I think it would have sealed the victory for him. But instead, he decided he's going to channel his inner Gordon Ryan. He's going to turn into Cyril Ryan, just like Francis was turning into Francis Couture in the third and fourth round of that fight, and he went for a heel hook. Actually, the way I was taught to heel hook is that you have to, first of all, really pinch your knees together. I mean, make sure the opponent's knee is trapped, and then crank on the heel so that you can create that twisting effect, which actually leads to injury in heel hook. That's why you tap fast. But Cyril did not have control with his legs, did not have control of Francis's leg with his legs. So that really makes the whole heel hook ineffective, in my opinion. So Cyril Gane, he's only still 10 fights into his professional career. I guess some kind of mishap is expected, but he has been performing at a very high level at a very early phase in his career. So I guess people expected him to win, and he was almost there. If you go back and look at the fight, Cyril Gane came into this fight with a really good game plan. He was peppering Francis with jabs. He was throwing kicks. Those tips to the body was nice. He was trying not to engage in body kicks too much, which is one of his main weapons, because Francis has a really, really long reach. He could decide to close the distance off of Cyril's body kicks, so he did not go to that. He tried to use long range weapons all day long, and he was moving very well. His head movement was on point, and he'd do sometimes he'd just blitz in and just crashed into Francis to get to the clinch, which was very smart. I think he was either all the way in or he was either all the way out away from Francis's strikes. He was never in that boxing range with Francis where Francis is really dangerous, and even if Cyril has to throw his punches, he would just walk in, throw his punches, get away, or he will walk in, throw his punches, crash into Francis, get into the clinch range. And he was very diligent about defending himself in the clinch as well. If you go back and look at the fight, Francis tried to land uppercuts on him, but Cyril Gane would be so diligent about it. He would move his body towards the uppercut of Francis Ngannou so that the uppercut would end up landing on his triceps or shoulder area, which was pretty smart. Defensively, Cyril Gane was really on point that night, and offensively, he kind of stumbled Francis as to how to approach the fight. Francis wasn't landing with his hooks at all, and anytime Francis decided to wing his big left hook, which really is a moneymaker for him, but Cyril Gane was really hip to it. He would duck under every time. Clearly, they have totally studied Francis Ngannou, and I understand they both were training partners at one point of time, but that was a long time ago as well. So Francis Ngannou has Francis Couture has himself evolved a lot since those days in France, and Cyril Gane did a really good job of studying him, making sure he has a solid game plan and stick to it, especially in the first 2 rounds. I mean, he had nice snap front kicks to the body in the first round, and Cyril Gane would crash into the clinch and land really good knees on Francis's body. And you can see by the time second round rolled in, Francis looked gassed. I mean, once you look gassed, man, you lose a lot of steam on your punches as well. So Francis, the way he punches people and puts them away, that power takes a hit as well. And Cyril Gane was doing a good job of draining that power by attacking Francis's body constantly with knees. And also in range, I would like to give Francis a little bit of credit here. He was not crazy about throwing the power shots to Gane's head all the time. If you go back and look at the fight, he was landing a lot of shovel hooks to the body. Sometimes he would swing hooks at body directly. Like, he was doing a good job of attacking Cyril's body as well, and that's a new thing I've seen from Francis Ngannou. Usually he's just a bruising marauder. He would land a combination on your head and it would be all over usually, but he showed better discipline that night. He showed much better discipline, and so did Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane was really hip to everything Francis was doing. At one point, he landed a nice spinning back elbow on Francis while they were clinching. I mean, Cyril Gane has got some tricks, man. He's really impressive, and especially the second round for Gane was just an easy round for him. At times, you can see he just had. At times, you can see he had both his hands down. He was moving around the cage like nothing's gonna happen to him. And I mean, that's Francis Ngannou in front of you. To just put both your hands down and move around like you're the boss in front of Francis Ngannou. That takes some balls, man. And he could do it because his defense was so on point that Francis just couldn't crack him. Francis couldn't land any power shots on him. He was totally hip to it. His head movement was on point. His footwork was on point. he would pepper these leg kicks on Francis. Some of them were damaging, a lot of them were not, but they were always, disturbing Francis, breaking his rhythm. And I think that was very important for Ciryl Gane to stay ahead of Francis. And I believe he landed a really nice wheel kick in the second round, which kind of grazed Francis's head a little bit. If it had landed any cleaner, I don't know if Francis would have gotten rocked or something. We have never seen Francis get rocked before, but that was a really interesting setup. I did not expect such a giant man to throw techniques like spinning heel kicks, and Ciryl Gane looked really nimble for his size. He could throw heel kicks real fast. That was impressive. I believe that was in the second round as well. And then as the third round came in, I thought Francis was clearly down 2 rounds. He did not win any of the first 2 rounds, and it almost looked like a one-way traffic from that point onwards. I really thought the first 2 rounds kind of set the tone for the fight, and Ciryl Gane is just going to fight this way and easily going to win this fight. But Francis really had other plans in mind. He brought wrestling into this fight, which was something absolutely new from Francis. The first takedown that he got, slam actually, that happened because Ciryl Gane was throwing a front snap kick with his right leg, and Francis caught it and proceeded to slam Ciryl Gane onto the mat. And that was, I think Ciryl Gane himself was a little bit surprised by it. He did not expect to get caught with his, front kick. And that was surprising for Ciryl Gane as well. It was a big slam. I mean, Francis is a huge and strong man, and he was able to hold Ciryl Gane down on the ground for the majority of the third round. I think that's the point where Francis realized that he can wrestle and win this fight, although that's not what I was expecting to see, and frankly that's not what I think the pay-per-view fans paid for. When you put 2 big guys out there for the World Heavyweight Championship, one guy who has a reputation of being this new age Mike Tyson, one punch, I got you, you're out kind of power, but he decided to wrestle instead because he just could not touch Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane was very slick. He did not have the kind of power that Francis has, but he was much more technical as a kickboxer. And in the kickboxing range, Francis clearly lost that striking bout against Ciryl Gane. So I think he made really smart adjustment with this. The way he caught the front kick from Ciryl Gane and slammed him, controlled him on the ground. It showed maturity on Francis's part as well. I mean, he is not really a young athlete, even though he has not been fighting for too long, but he's not really a young athlete either. So to make such developments this late in your life, I think that's impressive as well. And in the fourth round, there was a very impressive double leg takedown from Francis Ngannou. Ciryl Gane actually went for a Kimura defense against that takedown. What he, I think, got wrong was his own positioning relative to Francis. As soon as he got the Kimura grip on the left hand of Francis Ngannou, he should have, shifted his hips towards his own right so that he can, guard up with his right leg. And if he had done that, the way he had the Kimura grip down on Francis, he could have really cranked on it, really secured the Kimura by blocking Francis's left side and then putting the Kimura on Francis's left hand. But that did not happen. Ciryl Gane landed on Francis's half guard, on towards his own left, Francis's right, and once Francis had his left side totally, open, that Kimura was never going to happen, obviously. So Francis showed smart defense as well, somewhat smart defense. I mean, and by showing that defense, he was able to keep Ciryl Gane from submitting him, and then started pressuring back Ciryl Gane. When Ciryl tried to get up, he would try to sweep, catch Cyryl's hand, the posting hand, and sweep it down, the Dagestani special, handcuff special, to keep Ciryl on the mat. I think those were some good adjustments, good game planning on Francis's part, and good evolution wrestling wise. I mean, he made good decisions overall. He went for he tried to go for a back take at one point, but instead of putting the near side hook in first with his leg, he tried to put the far side hook in first. So what Ciryl did was he turned towards Francis to counter-attack Francis, and by doing that he kind of nullified that back take attempt as well. But still, Francis managed to keep him on the ground, which gave Francis 2 back-to-back rounds, especially round 3 and round 4. And at the beginning of round 5, it was pretty clear, at least to me and probably to everyone, that whoever takes this round takes the fight for sure. And Ciryl Gane really had a great opening in this fight. He ran the pipe, took down Francis with a single leg takedown, beautiful single leg takedown, and established control right after it. But then after that, I don't know what happened. Did he see too many ADCC videos of Gordon Ryan? And then he forgot that Gordon Ryan has his instructionals up in BJJ Fanatics, so he probably should have bought them first and then attempted it. I know, I'm joking. But really, he made a big mistake by trying to go for the heel hooks. Probably should have bought the Gordon Ryan DVDs in BJJ Fanatics first. Just saying. Anyway, he did not have control of Francis's leg. He cranked on the heel, but if the knee is not pinched, it's not gonna work. So Francis, got up on to Ciryl Gane, and Gane tried something nice. Really, he tried to go for knee bar and then turn it into a heel hook again. I think at that point he should have just stood up. He had the opportunity. I mean, that shows the difference between the decision making of someone like Ciryl Gane and, let's say, Charles Oliveira. Oliveira would actively use leg locks to sweep his opponents, get up and get on top, and Ciryl had that opportunity as well. Instead, he decided to waste it on another heel hook attempt, and Francis again got the top control, reversed the position, held Ciryl down on the ground. There weren't significant damage done in terms of ground and pound, but control itself was the main factor here. Damage was not being done from either side, so Francis managed to hold Ciryl down on the ground for longer than Ciryl did, so he basically won that way, 3-2. Congratulations to Francis Ngannou, I suppose. Gypsy King tweeted, I don't know if this tweet does not take Francis over to boxing. I don't know what will. I think Francis will box Gypsy King next year. He will definitely get his ass whooped. I mean, he has that kind of power that Deontay Wilder did. I think I don't know who hits harder, probably Deontay, but he also has that, superpower in his right hand, but it's a different kind of beast when you're fighting Tyson Fury. Skill set. He's just simply a much better boxer, but if Francis does decide to box him, he will probably earn the kind of money that he should be earning, and it will be good for his life, I guess. Not exactly a good choice for career. He's not gonna win this fight with Tyson Fury, but they can sell this fight, a Tyson-esque heavyweight puncher versus Tyson Fury, and by Tyson I mean Mike Tyson. They can sell this. They can package this properly and sell the fight. Francis can earn a couple of millions of dollars, set himself for life. He's definitely not gonna win the fight though. Not a boxing match against Tyson Fury. That's not gonna happen. But people will pay to watch it. I think he should do it, and maybe he can beat other heavyweight boxers outside of Tyson Fury. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, look at Francis Ngannou here in this fight itself. He was wrestling like it's Randy Couture. So maybe he can show some evolution in his boxing as well. Who knows? So from that, we move on to the fight that really mattered in this card. Really, it was an exciting event. Brandon Moreno versus Deiveson Figueiredo. This fight was action-packed. Not at the beginning. It started slow. The first round, Figgy decided to, find his range with his leg kicks. He kind of established the leg kicks in the first round earlier itself. Moreno at one point timed Figgy with a nice right hand left hook combination to the body. I mean, that was really nice. But other than that, the first round was not really too eventful. But one of the things that was really interesting to see was that Figgy was not pressuring as much as he did in the last two fights. He was not walking into range as much as he did in the last two fights. Instead, he forced Moreno to come forward, close the distance, and engage Figgy. And Figgy would dart these leg kicks from the outside range, which were really effective. Moreno did not seem to, check most of the kicks, which I found baffling because they were the ones that were really working against him, especially as a consistent attack. Those leg kicks were really working against him, and Moreno did not really address that, whether in the early rounds or in the late rounds. So that was a new wrinkle from Figgy in terms of a game plan. He was trying to stay back and make Moreno come to him, which was not the case before. And we saw, especially in round 2, Moreno attacking Figgy with combinations, lands really nice left hooks. Figgy lands big right hands. It's Figgy, and Moreno started to answer Figgy back with leg kicks as well, but Figgy was landing most of the leg kicks, and his were more effective. But Moreno, at some points in the second round, it looked like he hurt Figgy with his boxing combinations more than Figgy hurt him. Of course, that all went out of the window when the third round started and both men went in for the kill. Both of them hurt each other, both got rocked, and then both kind of settled into a rhythm after those early exchanges in the third round. Figgy started throwing big leg kicks. Moreno started answering back with a few of his own, but you can clearly see Figgy really worked on his leg kicks. He was fast with it. His setups were nice, and with those leg kicks, he was able to do one interesting thing, was that he was able to mask his level change attempts. He did not go totally crazy with his takedowns, but a lot of the times he was able to reach Moreno's hips. Moreno is good about defending the takedown, but Figgy constantly presented that as a threat, and off of that you can land good strikes. One of the things that happened in the end of the third round was a real nice right hand from Figgy that dropped Moreno. I mean, Moreno almost was winning the third round effortlessly. I thought he was really ahead until that last second, right hand that dropped Moreno and pretty much sealed the round for, Figgy. Then Moreno was really impressive as a champion, because he came back in the fourth round, put more pressure, put more combos with his hands, and he even tried to take down at the end of the fourth round, which he almost got, but time ran out. And at the beginning of the fifth round, he tried that exact same takedown on Figgy and took him down. However, he could not control him for too long, maybe 10-15 seconds. Figgy got up, they both got into striking range, and Figgy at one point timed a real nice right hand when Moreno was trying to leg kick him, dropped Moreno with it. I can't seem to remember when the third knockdown happened. I only seem to remember these two knockdowns, one at the end of the third round, one in the fifth round. I saw a stat somewhere that Figgy dropped Moreno 3 times. If any of you guys remember it, if you guys are willing, do let me know in the comments which round was that. I don't seem to remember it at the moment. But in the fifth round, that was really nice right hand from Figgy, and he dropped Moreno while he was trying to leg kick. That was really interesting. Then towards the end of the round, they both got real reckless though. That was really the fun part of the fight. It was shades of Max Holloway versus Ricardo Lamas, except both of them were really effective here. Moreno, I thought, got the better of those exchanges, and throughout the fight you can see Moreno was getting the better of the exchanges whenever they were in close range. Figgy seems to be much better with his choices when he is fighting from range, but whenever the range is closed and they have to fight in the close range, Figgy seems to be much less effective compared to Moreno. Moreno was much more effective in the close range, but Figgy tried to stay really disciplined about it, trying not to engage too much in the close range, and I think that's one of the key reasons how he won that fight. And from that fight, we move on to another thriller in the card actually. Michel Pereira versus Andre Fialho. He was a late replacement in this card. He was making his UFC debut, and I must say, as a debutant, he was impressive, especially in the first round. I thought he clearly won that first round. He was really putting pressure on Michel Pereira. I mean, if you're going to fight somebody like Pereira, who is just an athletic marvel, you have to put pressure on a guy like that. He moves so much. You have to make him tired by putting pressure on him, and that's exactly what Fialho did. He had a really nice snapping jab and really powerful right hand as well, but one of the problems that really troubled Fialho was the fact that Michel Pereira would attack with everything: hands, knees, kicks, everything. Fialho was mostly a boxing guy in this fight. I can't seem to remember if he threw any kicks. I'm sure he did, but they were very few. That's the whole point. And Michel Pereira, on the other hand, was throwing these jumping knees, leg kicks, snapping, front kicks to the body. I think that's one of the real key weapons for Michel Pereira. He seems to be real good with it, has a nice timing on it, and really seems to drain his opponent's stamina with it. That front snap kick was money for Michel Pereira, and he was landing good leg kicks as well. He rocked Fialho at one point in the second round with a really nice, 1-2. The two landed and kind of what was the word? Rocked. I forgot the word. Let's go with rock. Rocked Fialho, and then again back to back through a slapping left hook with a right straight, which really hurt him. And that was a really nice combination with which Michel Pereira hurt Fialho. And from there on, he put the pressure on Fialho. He went for crazy ill-timed flying knees that did not really land on target, but still, he was landing good punches. He was not getting into trouble. His wrestling was more or less on point. Michel Pereira had a really interesting fight, and he was effective, especially in the second and the third round. He was effective. Fialho was, really, really impressive in the first round, but those, snap kicks to the body, man, the front snap kicks to the body, they really drained him. Towards the end of the third round, mostly he was, Fialho was trying to rely on his jabs and occasional left hooks, while Pereira was attacking him with lots of combinations and trying to stay busy. And it was a really nice fun scrap, and I see a bright future for Fialho, to be honest. I think he needs to clean up a lot of his deficiencies, but if he does, he could be a really interesting fighter, in my opinion. Congratulations to Michel Pereira on a fantastic win. Andre Fialho, commiserations to him, but I think he had a really good debut, especially on a short notice. From that, we move on to the Kodi Stamen versus Saeed Nurmagomedov fight. And this Nurmagomedov is kind of different from his famous relative. Is it his brother? I did not check. Or is it cousin? I don't know. But his fighting style is much different from Khabib. He is not a wrestling heavy pressure fighter. He is very free flowing, weird spinning back kicks, spinning, back fist kind of guy. Just wild strikes, and that's how he started this fight as well. Although this fight only lasted a couple of seconds, it did not even go a full minute. And even during that small time frame, Nurmagomedov managed to land a real nice spinning back fist, which was partially blocked by Stamen, and then followed that up immediately with a spinning back kick to the body. And Stamen went for the takedown immediately, got into a single leg, pressed Saeed Nurmagomedov against the cage, and Nurmagomedov, with that caught single leg, tripped Kodi Stamen. Stamen tried to get up too early, trying to assume a double leg takedown position, and Nurmagomedov real fast sneaked his left hand underneath Kodi Stamen's neck and cinched in a real tight guillotine. He was not getting out of that. Kodi Stamen was not getting out of that lock, and that pretty much ended the fight. So, Saeed Nurmagomedov, I think really interesting future prospect in my opinion. I'm going to keep an eye out on him. Kodi Stamen, he's a really good fighter. It was unfortunate, kind of. He got caught real fast. I don't know if this fight goes down exactly the same way if they fight once again. I'm sure they're not going to fight immediately, but in future we might be able to see these two guys face each other again. And other than that, I think next up, Saeed Nurmagomedov might be getting a ranked opponent again, and it's going to be interesting in my opinion. From that, we move to the very first fight of the fight card of the main card, Morales versus Giles. Trevin Giles started real nice. He started this fight hot. He dropped, Morales with a real nice left hook, but he got sloppy. He got sloppy against a debutant who is much less experienced compared to him, and he went for this jab and then winging right hand, which was so far out of target, and he was so far away from Morales. Morales was moving away from him, circling away, and then he just threw, was it a right hand or a left hand? I can't quite remember at the moment, but it landed right on the button of Trevin Giles, and he went down. And followed by just a little bit of ground and pound. Morales got his debut victory in UFC. He is very young. Fight card showed he's 22 only, so he could be an interesting future prospect in my opinion. Right now, not really though. He needs to fight low-level competition. He does not need to fight ranked opponents at the moment. He needs to fight, unranked fighters, get some experience. He looked inexperienced in this fight actually, so he needs to get that experience, some octagon time, develop a well-rounded game for himself, and then move on to the ranked opponents of that division. I mean, that's a really hard division, so he can take his time. He should take his time and develop properly. The announcers were really putting a lot of stats about him, how he comes from a fighting family, how his parents were judoka, I think. Did they say? I can't really remember, but like he has a background in martial arts already, and blah blah blah. I think none of that really matters. He is inexperienced. He is green. He needs to fight. He needs to fight unranked fighters and climb up the ladder slowly because he's very young, and he has a really high potential upside, and it seems like he already has a fan base. People were really reacting well to him whenever he was talking, so I don't know, could be a future potential star for UFC if they handle it right, if they match make him correctly and bring him up slowly. He's very young, like I said. He should get some more experience under his belt, and he could be a really interesting future prospect. So with that being said, we come to a conclusion of the main card of UFC 270. It was okay kind of card. It wasn't something that blew my mind or anything. I hope Francis Ngannou gets that bag in his next boxing match against Tyson Fury. Don't know if it's going to happen, but we can hope. Francis, showed new wrinkles to his game. Ciryl Gane actually looked really good in spots, but ultimately he showed that he is inexperienced at this point, and he needs to gain some more experience in fighting, and he can do better. I think he can be a future world champion himself. He showed really good striking in this fight, and apart from that really, messed up decision to go for the heel hook, he was doing well for himself overall. So there is a potential upside for Ciryl Gane as well. And Davison Figueiredo versus Moreno, we're probably going to see a fourth one. I don't know. These two guys seem very, very competitive and very, very close to each other. It's getting ridiculous with these two guys, and every time they fight they bring in action, so I'm not complaining really. I hope you guys enjoyed this fight as much as I did, and I hope you guys had a blast. I had an okay time watching UFC 270 overall. So if you guys like my content, please like the video, share it with your friends, and let them know about this podcast. Subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon for future notifications. Thank you.